There's a report out about a new computer virus that may be aimed at destroying a bricks-and-mortar facility. The virus is called Stuxnet, and according to the Financial Times, it may be aimed at Iran's controversial nuclear facility. Joining us now is Richard Falkenrath. He is principal of the Chertoff Group and a Bloomberg contributing editor. He has also been a White House advisor on security. Richard, thanks so much for being with us this morning. First of all, how does this virus work?
So this virus attacks the SCADA systems for industrial facilities, and that means supervisory data and control systems. What it does is it originally started with a USB drive. Someone would take an infected USB drive, stick it into a computer, and then it propagates through the system. It's a worm, which means it propagates by itself. It keeps moving through the system, and it hides its tracks.
But, Richard, I mean, does it have to be placed there? It seems like it does.
It started with, we think it started with a USB drive that was physically connected to one of the machines, and then it went itself through the network. And the techie people who analyze this think this is one of the most sophisticated pieces of malware they've ever seen. And the reason for that is it's using stolen certificates, legitimate digital certificates that real companies use to identify themselves when they communicate. They were stolen. And then it exploits 4 previously unknown vulnerabilities in the Windows operating system. These are called day zero vulnerabilities. And the theory is, among the security experts, is that this took the resources of a nation state to create a piece of malware this sophisticated.
Well, Richard, I was going to ask you about that because I'm reading this article as well. I read it said well-financed, highly organized team had to put it together. What are the chances that the U.S. created it? And I'm asking you that because it seems like Iran has the most infections out there.
That's right. Iran has by far the most infections, followed by India and Indonesia. And it is theoretically possible that the U.S. government did this, but in my judgment, it's a very remote possibility. More likely, frankly, is Israel, that Israel did it. It's not impossible that some group of hackers did it, but the security experts that are studying this really think this required the resources of a nation state. For the U.S. government to launch a piece of malware like this against industrial systems, a very risky thing to do because it can't really be controlled. It can spread beyond the place that's being targeted.
But I want to ask you, I mean, do countries, I mean, we're talking about Iran in this context of its controversial nuclear site, but is Iran really running its nuclear power, its nuclear plant on Windows software?
Well, yeah, the main power plant there uses Windows PCs with a Siemens-provided industrial control software package, and that in the diagnostics is how this virus got into it. And that's an increasingly common configuration.
It also seems of increasing concern because, I don't know, I've used Windows, I know other people who have, and it's not stable even without a virus sometimes. So, I mean, should a nuclear system really be hinged on that kind of software?
Well, that is the nature of the modern economy and our technology. We rely heavily on these IT systems. In this case, the virus exploited 4 vulnerabilities that the Windows manufacturers did not know about. 2 of them have now been closed, but there's 2 that they're still working on and then are going to close soon. And that's why it's so important to always stay up with your software patches that come along.
So, Richard, I mean, just getting back to what you said about you think that Israel did it, I mean, I'm going to guess that they will never admit it, even if they did.
And I wouldn't say I think that Israel did it. I'd say it's more likely that the U.S. did it. This is almost impossible to figure out. The forensics of tracing this back, trying to determine who launches these things originally, is extremely difficult. So this is really pure conjecture on who did it. I do know something, though, about how the U.S. government makes its decisions on whether to launch what we call an offensive information warfare attack, which this would be. Okay. And the bar is quite high.
All right, Richard. Thanks, as always, for joining us. Richard Falkenrath, contributing editor here at Bloomberg and principal at the Chertoff Group.